Good morning to all of you. Warm welcome here. Uh, Let me start with this session, which is like we are going to talk about how exactly AI and security goes together, hands on hand. And I am Manish Kumar, founder and the CEO of Ruman Technologies. I welcome you all here. Ruman, like we started our operation 26 years before in India, and we have kind of, wait a minute, I think there is something. Yeah. So primarily we started with training, so where we have trained more than 1.3 million of students in the last 26 years. And also we have incubated 100 plus startups. So there are two verticals where we operate. One is with the training. At the same time, we are also into IT services where we build the smart cities. We do the large system integration project. And the latest venture of ours is the Startup Varsity, where we have incubated 100 plus companies. Moreover, now as the buzzword is AI, and today's event is for that purpose itself, so we do have our AI lab where we have developed 50 plus products. So we do have voice agents. We have one of the interesting product which we have developed where we say, why not a database, why not a LinkedIn for the blue collars? So like, today when we talk about resume, in that case, it's always when a person who knows English can only have the resume. Why not the one of the plumber or one of the carpenter should have their resume? So that is what we call it as blue LinkedIn kind of like, and many other products we are having apart from that: AI tutor, campus management, and LLM, enterprise LLM. So suppose if you don't want to go on the internet and you want to have a enterprise LLM, so we build the enterprise LLM for the people. So here we would like to announce that as AI is the integral part of ours and it is no more kind of restricted only to the technical people, so we have come out with a program where we are saying that it is for the government organization or the corporate if they want any upskilling. So up to 30 hours of free training we are offering on the AI on a different vertical. So like either you want it specialized for HR or finance or whatever it may be. So this is the initiative which I was talking about, like, Startup Varsity, where we invite the founders who is having, so we say that if you have an idea, we will create a company for you. If you don't have an idea, we will seed an idea to you. There are many who is having like passion, they want to do the startup, but at the same time, what startup I should do? So we also have like, the mentors. Using AI itself, we have created the tool which can also give the idea based on what are the areas you want to focus in that area, in that city, what was the problem statements and all in the last 10 years, and it will populate the ideas to you that what exactly you should do. So yes, we are into digital transformation, public sector, and GCC and GIC enablement. So right now, the theme today, what we are having is how exactly the AI policy, AI ethics is going to come into the ecosystem and work. So here we have our partner companies. So we have Policyora, we are having Maya AI. So where like we are talking, Maya AI talks about autonomous vulnerability management, where like, how using the agents, we should be able to have the complete defense. So like, it is when we talk about today in the AI era, it is very easy. Like earlier, the attack was done using 1 person, 2 person. Now I can put 5,000 agents and I can, bring down any of the sites within no time. So obviously, at the same time, on the security part also, we need to be kind of ready for it, and we need to ensure that we are. So I have my colleague, my partner Srinivas, who would be having expert talk on this Maya AI, and he is also going to give you the demo how exactly using the agentic AI we are going ahead with kind of continuous threat monitoring. So Policy Aura is the regulatory. So there are different countries, and in the different countries we are having the different regulatory. So using the Policy Aura, we are going to go ahead with the regulatory framework, and you can see what exactly is the regulatory of which company. So with that, we would be starting the panel discussion where like Mr. Sanjay Puri will be leading the panel, and we will have a panel discussion first and followed by a demo of Maya AI. So I invite Mr. Sanjay to take over the stage and start with the panel discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Manish, and thank you to Roman. Unfortunately, my voice is not as clear as Manish, so I might use sign language if it's okay with all of you. But I think Manish mentioned that AI is actually penetrating every aspect of our society, whether it's medicine, whether it is gaming, whether it's healthcare, whether it's manufacturing and others. And if that is the case, the trust factor in AI is actually widening. People don't trust AI as much. Sometimes it's less than 50%. So what can we do to build that level of trust? It's not going to be code that is going to increase that trust. It is actually going to be a new set of leaders that are going to help us build that trust. Well, first let me call the leaders that we have for this panel, and then I'll talk about the trust. So let me call my esteemed panelists, Brando, Daniel, Srinivas, over to our, please have a seat. We have a fantastic panel with you. Is Vinesh there? Okay, well, hopefully he'll join soon. And if he doesn't, believe me, we have these folks who will more than make up for that. But as I was talking about the trust deficit, what can we do to reduce the trust deficit? We need to create leaders who can build that level of trust. And for that, today I'm really proud to announce the launch of ERAI Fellowship. It's the Ethical Responsible AI Fellowship. This is where we are going to be training journalists and media people in terms of ethics and clarity and governance, because these are the people who actually shape our views and our perspective in what we think of AI. So with that, I would like to point to you a video that we have created to just show you a little bit of the launch on this for ERAI.
Why journalists matter in the age of responsible AI. Journalism plays a critical role in shaping public understanding. As artificial intelligence increasingly influences how information is produced, distributed, and consumed, the responsibility of the media has never been greater. From algorithmic amplification to automated content creation, AI is transforming newsroom practices. But without ethical oversight, these systems risk reinforcing bias, reducing transparency, and weakening editorial accountability.
ERAI, the Ethics and Responsible AI Fellowship,
is designed for journalists and media professionals who want to critically examine the role of AI in society. The fellowship provides structured learning on AI ethics, governance, and responsible reporting. If you report on technology, policy, or society, and believe that AI must be examined through an ethical lens, the Ethics and Responsible AI Fellowship invites you to apply.
Meet the team on Booth Hall, 4 Booth, 4F24, powered by Knowledge Networks.
So if you know any journalists, this is a free fellowship program taught by world leaders, because today you get your news from newspapers and magazines, and you want to make sure that this is done right. So let's have this information over to you, and we'll start with the panel. Okay. That's it. Now we start with the panel, if they can hear me. Brando, we'll start with you. We met about a month ago at Davos, and one of the things I told you, Brando, was that there is a lot of misconception about the EU AI Act, and we need to change that. This is your moment to kind of tell the audience about some misconceptions that are there. What really is the EU AI Act?
Well, first of all, thank you for this opportunity and congratulations to Knowledge Networks and all the partners involved for this initiative. It's very important that we have opportunities and we use all occasions, including the India AI Impact Summit, to discuss these very important topics. I already apologize that I will have to leave not very far late from now because I have to speak at the working groups that are being finalized before the summit. As many of you know, I am a member of European Parliament. I was the rapporteur of the AI Act, so I was one of the chief negotiators of this legislation that, as it was said in a previous panel I was participating in, it has been a landmark proposal for a framework of regulation of AI. Even if you can choose to not adhere to all the ideas we have put in that legislation, it's anyway today a reference point for the global debate, because we dealt with a few issues that are relevant wherever we are and wherever we deploy AI. One is which AI use cases are not desirable at all. The AI Act has chosen to identify a few areas where we do not want AI usage. I give you an example. We forbid manipulative subliminal techniques powered by AI. We do not want manipulation of people in our democratic spaces. Another choice we made is to forbid the emotion recognition in spaces of work and of study. We do not want that form of intrusiveness in the context of workers and students. But then, second aspect of the AI Act, we have regulated sensitive use cases. So when you deal with workplace, with medical use, with public administration, democratic processes, we want to have clear standards on quality and appropriateness of data used to train AI, cybersecurity levels, human control. And then we want transparency. We want, and we enact this with the law, that AI-generated content must be recognizable. We want to avoid the proliferation of deep fakes that will create a situation where we don't distinguish reality from false. So these are just a few examples of what we have been dealing with. And it's true, there are misconceptions about the law because sometimes it's interpreted as a limit for the European innovation. I don't believe that, because Europe has pros and cons, strengths and weaknesses, like India, on how to develop AI systems. And in fact, Europe lacks a integrated financial market to support our startups. This is a big problem. Also, There are issues with our data legislation. We should be able to ensure that there is more access to data. This is very important. But the AI Act doesn't deal with this. It deals with putting a safety framework, risk-based, that tries to build trust. So to be clear and conclude, we want more adoption of AI in Europe. And I know this is also the debate in India. AI diffusion, AI uptake. This is the debate in Europe too. We have the AI Act, but we have also a so-called strategy called Apply AI. We want more AI in various fields. Before coming here, I was meeting with startups from India that deal with AI and agriculture. This is an example. But also AI and healthcare, AI and automotive. But we want to do that with trust, because we are democracies, and in democracy you need to have people that trust the use of these technologies. And so that's why you need to build a trustworthy environment, and the AI Act is exactly for that.
Brando, thanks for clarifying that. You are the architect of the EU AI Act. You are in India. What can India learn from the EU AI Act?
Okay, sorry, it's my fault. It fell and that's it. So I think that EU and India can have a strong partnership on AI. Why? Because we both concentrate on use cases of AI, on deployment of AI. This is a typical angle that we are both experiencing. I had the chance to discuss not only in this occasion, but also before with both the government and the entrepreneurs here in India. And the idea of AI deployment rather than a mere technological competition, an arms race on AI. This is the other narrative and the other debate we hear about. We have probably together a different approach, which is to build a more cooperative and experience-based development of AI. We concentrate on intake and on development. I think this is an issue that I'm sure will emerge further in this summit. How can the so-called middle powers build a network of cooperation for a trustworthy deployment of AI that will boost productivity, will increase opportunity, and will build more autonomy from the risk of pressure coming from other actors. This will be a challenge, but I think it's a space of strong cooperation for Europe and India.
Brando, I'm going to ask you another one because you have to leave. There's always this dichotomy of innovation versus regulation. Yeah. What do you think? Innovation versus regulation?
Well, I think this is always the debate, but we should avoid framing it in the wrong way. Sometimes it's framed in the wrong way. Because obviously, when we regulated AI, we took into account the risk of regulating too much an innovation that needed time to be developed. So what we have done is to foresee with the AI Act the frontier area of AI development, so the most powerful models, the generative AI, to be regulated with a co-legislative process. We involve the developers, we involve the civil society and the governments and the academia. And so we developed a safety framework for the most powerful models to, for example, to avoid the creation of pedopornographic material, the incitation to suicide of people, to contrast the propaganda for terrorism or other issues that you can imagine that we want to prevent when we develop AI. It's not against free speech. It's about having rules around how we use these systems. So we have developed a co-legislative process in this area, and we have chosen to develop standards to quantify quality of data, level of cybersecurity, all issues that are needed to deploy safely AI systems. And I want to conclude the point by saying that we always have to take into account that we need to not over-regulate. But let's also avoid the opposite risk of not regulating and then create a situation where there are irreversible consequences. I give you one example to conclude. Is the social media, which are more and more media and less social. And they intertwine very strongly today with AI, especially with generative AI. Well, we didn't regulate very much social media in the last decades. Now we are talking a lot about that everywhere, about children protection, about fighting misinformation. But we are doing it quite late. My opinion is that we already lost a generation to this. There is already a generation of young people that are brought up with the impact on their minds, on their ways of seeing society, on interacting with technology, that is of social media without any rule. So now we are talking about it, but we already lost a generation in my view. So let's always take into account that there might be irreversible consequences by choosing to wait and not put any boundaries. So it's a difficult topic, but let's always think of all the elements on the table. Thank you.
Thank you, Daniel. Introduction, and what does trustworthy AI mean to you?
Great. Thanks a lot, Sanjay, and thanks a lot for the invitation. And Brando told you now very, very nicely the theory of the EU AI Act. I will tell you a little bit later the practical experience with that. So my name is Dr. Daniel Dobosch. I'm a particle physicist. Most of my career I spent at CERN, working on the Higgs boson discovery. So I'm a highly cited scientist on AI, I think more than 250,000 citations. And I work now on how can we deliver AI in a trustful way. And you mentioned the EU AI Act and standardization. So I'm the head of a Swiss AI standardization where exactly we try to see how we can get the AI regulation, which is one part of the governance, also into practical standards. And I think this collaboration works very, very well. So everybody talks about that multilateralism is dead. At least in AI standardizations, I have a feeling that still works. On the other side, I'm also co-chairing the AI for Good Impact Initiative. And this is where we try to see how can we build solutions that are not only delivering AI for good for one country or one region, but how to scale that globally. Coming to the EU AI Act and basically how to build trust. You mentioned the theory, and now we read in media a lot that basically, Europe is over-regulating. There's this saying of innovation happens in the US, it's copied and then maybe in China, and Europe just regulates. When you have a researcher like me, and you hear something like that, what do? You say, wait a second, let me try. This is exactly what we did in Switzerland. So we asked ourselves, so can you do AI innovation in the heart of Europe? And we gathered together two great universities, ETH Zurich, EPFL Lausanne, two of the leading universities. And we made a strategic industry partnership with Swisscom, a telecommunication organization. And we created Apertus, a Swiss large language model, fully open source. Not only open weights, open data, open recipes, open filtering. So we understand open source like open source in science, reproducible. And it was published in September last year, and we are about to work on the next version. And so we had to go through the question, we're in Switzerland, we are not obliged to follow the EU AI Act by law, but because we wanted to make it also easy to be used in the European Union and globally, we said, okay, let's take that challenge. it was not so difficult as that. So always kind of talking about that you cannot do innovation in Europe because of the EU AI Act. Sorry, from practical experience, I cannot support that. So to be very honest, these were 3 big organizations, 2 major universities, a big telco. And yes, we had to spend some time to read it, and it's a lot to read, and we had to talk to some lawyers. But at the end, if I paraphrase it a little bit, most of it is common sense. So if you go in the supermarket and you're not allowed to steal in a supermarket some food, you read in the EU AI Act that you're not allowed to steal for your AI. If you bring a product into the supermarket and you want to sell something, and you have to declare what is in your tea, for example. If you put in more than just tea and water, if you have to declare it, then I think it's also somehow common sense that in your AI you have to declare what you put in there. So yes, it's a lot of reading and it's a lot of common sense that's there. And I totally agree that a small startup with a few people cannot do the same thing like 2 big universities and a telco. But this is why exactly there's working on making it simpler so that also startups can do it. But let's be honest, also startups at the moment don't build large language models like 2 big universities can, with a huge computing center like the CSCS supercomputer, the 7th biggest supercomputer in the world. So I really think that basically at the moment we are in a good way of showing that innovation can happen with strong governance, and that yet it makes sense to make it easier, but it's also not such a stopping to create this. And open source, coming back to your question, makes it really trustable because you can really examine what happens. Researchers can have a look why the model has biases or not. So really being transparent, I think, is the key to have a trustable AI system.
Brando, you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, well, yes. Yes, and I'm sorry that I will have to go after this, but I think you're totally right. And in fact, let's be honest, we have been the pioneers on this, so we didn't get everything right. I am now working on the so-called digital omnibus of the European Union that also tries to adjust some aspects of the AI Act, but really just marginal things, to be frank, and a few important issues. One of them is strengthening the implementation and enforcement capability of the EU AI office, because you can have a nice law, but then if it's not applicable, because if someone violates it, you cannot make it be sanctioned and respected, then it's useless. So strengthen that. And the other aspect is what you were saying, simplifying the procedures for the smaller businesses. So we are now building more graduation on that. And so this is what we are doing now, because yes, obviously you always need to think and maybe readjust a bit, but the core of all what we have done, we should not say like, yeah, we cannot innovate in Europe because we want to regulate. Instead, we need to build more common capacity. To be frank, Europe should do more together to develop more capabilities to develop AI and more integrated financial markets, more computing capacity together. And I think we need to build alliances with other middle powers, with the Global South, with India, I'm sure, and I'm sorry, I have to exactly go to speak about that at the main summit now, the working groups that are being done with the governments, exactly about this, how we build more cooperation so that we can actually develop a model that works for good and not for the interest only of a few countries or even a few people. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Brando. Daniel, you have built a great ecosystem in Switzerland. What can India learn from the ecosystem that you have built?
Of the ecosystem, yes. Let me tell you a little bit about the AI House in Davos, where we discuss topics like this, or also the Swiss AI Weeks. Because collaboration on this is extremely important, and especially international collaboration. collaboration with India, collaboration with other parts of the world who build their own systems. Singapore, for example, Sea Lion, UAE has built the Falcon model, an exchange about basically how to advance this kind of AI sovereignty, to have AI systems that can be trusted, is, I think, essential. This is something that we learned from other pioneers, like from the UAE or in Singapore with the models, that it's not enough to have a technical solution. It's not enough to build a large language model that works, but you need to build the ecosystem, the community that starts to use it. And what better opportunity do you have, like the big summit here in India, to build such a community? And it's really impressive to see so many young people really eager to do something with AI. This is really warming my heart. So in Switzerland, what we did is we asked first the experience from others, Singapore, UAE, and then we created the so-called Swiss AI Weeks, which means when we launched the model, we not only took care that everybody could use the model free of charge and freely, but we organized across the entire country. Switzerland is a small country compared here to India, but we still try to basically get a big part of the population. And in 5 weeks, we organized 240 events in 33 cities, 15 hackathons, 154 organizations, big organizations like the UBS Bank, Swiss Re, Swiss Life, the Post, Swisscom as telecommunication organization, but also small organizations, all the universities, to really try out this model. Let students, let hackathon participants explore the model, find all the problems with it, all the problems that you can have with creating some fake information, fake pictures with it, creating some kind of adversarial cybersecurity attacks. The model could do something wrong, and we really wanted that everybody tries it out and tells us what the flaws are, what we should improve. And this was really like a national movement where the president even then inaugurated that and said that basically let's experiment with that model all together. Let's try it out, let's break it, and then let's fix it again to make it even better.
Thank you, Srinivas. Introduction, and what does trustworthy AI mean to you?
Thanks. Hello. Hello. Thanks, Sanjay, for the invitation, and good morning, everybody. I see a lot of young folks here. And this is, all I can say is with 3 decades of experience, this is once in a lifetime opportunity for all of you to learn and absorb as much as you can and take it back to your profession, whatever it may be, and see how it can get that force multiplier 10x effect. I think that's the best value that you could educate yourself, but more importantly, uplift the ecosystem around you. So answering your specific question, I think we are at a unique stage in the industry now where most of the AI, which was in the POC phase, has now quickly moved into the production phase, right? So what does this mean for trust and safety? It raises the bar much higher. You need to have a lot more built-in frameworks, like built-in architecture that will look into various layers, from your observability layer, from your security layer, from your controls layer, but most importantly, even start with discovery. What is it? What are the assets? Because these assets are not static anymore. There's a lot of proliferation of AI, and that's the new buzzword called shadow AI. So how do you auto-discover all the assets and make sure that they are risk-adjusted according to your business proposals or equation, and then apply the right level of controls? All this needs to be done in a continuous mode. That's the talk that I'm going to be talking about. Is no longer is the phase where I do it once a week or once a day and I'm done. No, you got to do it by the minute, by the second. Anytime there's a new flux in the environment or new flux in your asset surface, then you got to make sure that it is risk adjusted, the controls are applied appropriately so that your accountability aspects are properly enforced, right? So all of this requires a built-in fundamental first principles based approach, and this is very hard. this won't come overnight. This requires multi-years of investment and thinking, system-wide and systemic thinking, where you don't expect an ROI to come in the matter of like a year or two. Fundamental innovation needs to happen, and that's where we'll start to see the force multiplier effects as investment goes. That's the.
Do you see companies wanting trustworthy AI built into systems?
Yes. Yes, absolutely. So I think as the use cases become more advanced, and starting from, let's say, dev and test workflows to more advanced workloads, and that requires deeper compliance posture management, then trustworthy safety and risk adjustment becomes a part and parcel of that equation. Yes.
Daniel, you deal with a lot of startups. When you talk about trustworthy AI, do they get it?
So startups, I think this is a huge opportunity for startups. This is really one field where startups can show their potential to innovate. And like Brando said, what is required is this kind of level of trust so that you can distinguish between what is basically Gen AI generated and what is maybe human generated. And this is nothing new to us. Huh? This is something that we had this kind of problem all the time. Let me overdo it a little bit. When the copy machine was invented, it was possible to do fake pictures before. It was possible to basically remove somebody from a photograph or add somebody to a photograph. But it was really, it took a lot of time. You needed a dark room, you basically needed to, and it took maybe, 1 day of a professional to basically change one picture. When the copy machine was invented, it became much easier. Basically with maybe 10, 20 minutes of, taking some photos, cutting out some faces, you could basically with a copy machine do it much faster. Now with Gen AI, we also have this step where basically everybody in a few seconds can generate huge amounts of pictures, fake pictures. Does it mean that we now have to basically make sure that you can distinguish the fake from the truth? Yes, definitely. And this is the goal from the EUI Act that Brandon mentioned. But the question is, where do we want to put our effort? Do we want to put our effort in the thing that is very cheap? And this is the fake now. Before, basically in the times of photography, it was the fake was much more work to do than to take a picture. So you took a picture like this, and then it took hours and hours to make the fake. Now it's completely reversed. Huh? So maybe it's worth to protect the thing that really has value, and this is the human-created things. When you have a photographer who takes a picture, and that this photographer can basically give all the trust to the picture, that he can say, yes, I sign that I took the picture. That the editor who puts it in the newspaper can say, yes, I choose this picture. That the editor-in-chief says, yes, I approve this article that contains this picture. And I'm basically talked with everybody, and I know that a human took that picture. So this is a little bit like, when you have money bills. We protect the original, we protect the money bills, and we don't try to basically, in any case, prevent that you can create a bad copy of it. And I think this can be also guidance for us in AI, so that we not only try to put watermarks and all kind of markers into the Gen AI generated stuff, but also that we protect what really has value, and this is the human created content.
So this is for both of you. What does agentic AI imply for trustworthy systems?
So I would say we are still in the crawl phase of the agentic deployments in production environments. But I think as it gets mature, there's a lot of factors that will need to be factored in, right? So back to what I was saying earlier, which is built-in trust. So agents need to have a built-in trust model with provenance that is assured across every layers, not just at the agent layer, but at the agent to model interactions, agent to agent interactions, agent to data interactions, and then agent to, of course, the business layers, right? So each layer needs to have a provenance and trust verification as part of that transaction before it passes the baton to the next level. So there's still a lot of standards that are being defined to ensure that there is a common token currency where these agents communicate with each other. But as an industry, I think this is where we would, we need to march forward in a much faster pace because agents have a purpose that they need to serve, but the rest of the stuff around it, the observability layer, the assurance layer, the provenance layer, the security layer, segmentation layer, all of these also need to be ensured in that layer. So I think we are maturing very fast on that front.
I totally agree, but let me try to put also a little bit a different aspect to it, and this is the aspect of critical infrastructure. There's a lot of discussion now, basically, if we want to have Gen AI, for example, in the water supply, electricity supply, your food supply chains, and that comes with big risks of making sure that this Gen AI doesn't basically interrupt all this critical infrastructure for us. And there I totally agree. And it's actually not so difficult to find principles how to do that. The big difference is our Gen AI has non-deterministic algorithms, so we cannot really check in each case why it took a certain decision or even fully reproduce it. And on the other side, we have deterministic algorithms that we use all the time to take decisions, on how to optimize our electricity network or telecommunication networks. And the way that we can still use today AI is that we use AI to optimize this deterministic algorithms, for example, setting thresholds smarter than a human could do, but still keeping this deterministic algorithms and now use the power of good, understood deterministic algorithms that control our critical infrastructure, and then Gen AI who helps us to make these deterministic algorithms better, more efficient, saving energy, saving water. So there is this kind of combination which you can operate safely. But on the other side, I totally understand that, if we want to trust AI systems fully, at the moment we cannot trust them to a level that we want to let them control our critical infrastructure.
Again, for both of you, what about skilling education for trustworthy AI? We talk about ML, data science, but what about teaching people trustworthy AI? What do you think of that?
Yeah, trustworthy computing is a big area, and as you all are aware, it is a standalone subject topic and a thesis topic that many students are considering as part of their graduation thesis, right? So most universities are offering this as a curriculum subject. This was not there less than 5-6 years back, right? So what does trustworthy computing mean? So again, you got to talk it from the bare metal layer, then at the chip hardware layer, then you're looking at the system layer, then at the encryption layer, then at the data layer, model layer, agentic layer, and then of course beyond that, right? So each layer enforces, there's a lot of standards bodies that I'm very well part of that are enforcing that trustworthy computing is enforced full stack, not just at the agent layer or not just at the model layer, but at the full stack layer, right? And that is, it is still, there's a lot of maturity in certain areas, but in certain AI native areas, especially at the model layer and agent to model and agent to agent interactions layers, there's still a lot of work to be done. So I think that's kind of where we are as the maturity of the industry evolves.
And trying to combine it with a discussion that we had in Davos. This was mentioned before. I'm one of the initiators of AI House in Davos, where we have a lot of CEOs, presidents of universities who are discussing AI. And the driving question this year was not so much about technology, but one of the important questions that many CEOs asked that many presidents of a university asked themselves and discussed when was, what should I tell my children that they should learn for the future? Because in the past it was easy. You could say, become a lawyer and you will have a good life, or become a doctor and you might have a very good life, or become a particle physicist and you will have a miserable life. No, I'm just kidding. But this is a big question that it's very, very difficult to answer. It's not me, yeah? And this is basically one question that everybody asks, and it's not so easy to answer today because we see a lot of change in the job market that will come to us. What I try to tell my 3 children is that curiosity is something that helps to adapt. So learning something, and it doesn't really matter what it is, it could be even history. If you're curious, if you're somebody who tries to adapt to the changes of the world, if you learn how to learn, you constantly learn, then you will be very well prepared for the future. And yes, maybe it is still you need some programming today, maybe not in a few years, but staying there on this curiosity side and trying to understand how our world really changes and what is the next thing that you have to learn is, I think, the most important skill that you can learn today.
Questions from the audience? Any? Oh, please. Mike.
This is regarding auditing agentic AI interactions on a blockchain system. Do you think blockchain would be used in the future to audit AI? Anyone?
I can start maybe. I can try a little bit. Yes. So, especially when we talk about agentic AI, when we talk about that we give agency to some AI decision mechanisms and let them decide for us, I think having some kind of ledger system that is trustable, for the moment blockchain is the trusted systems that we have, is extremely important. Now comes a more difficult question, what to put on the blockchain. Is it just the pure decision? Is it just a yes and no that I should put there? Do I have to put basically everything so I can fully reproduce the AI decision? So do I have to give all the context and all what the AI knew at that moment to really being able to fully reproduce? Maybe that is technically very, very difficult and might create too much data. On the other side, look, how do we trust humans? We trust them to, to a level. On the other side, we also then are ready to, re-question if a human, if a colleague, if a friend took a decision. So should we go this approach, that we have some limited accounting of what was done? So I think this is a very good question. Blockchain will be most probably the technology, but the more difficult question is really what to put on the blockchain. And I think this we will need to experience. And this is where maybe at the beginning we are very overcautious. And Brandon tells us a little bit that basically maybe, yes, when doing regulation at the beginning, you want to be very careful and over careful. And this is fine because you can change it later. There's the famous red flag law that you might have heard. This is the Automotive Act of 1856 in London, where there was the first electric cars going, the motorized carriages, and basically you needed 4 people to drive that this motorized vehicle because people were just used to horses. So you had a person who had to walk in front of it and carry a red flag. Today we're laughing about it, but imagine you would have a red flag person going in front of each car. But it was good because the society had the chance to learn how to adapt to it. And so most probably a lot of the regulations that we have today, we will laugh about it in 10 years, 20 years, or maybe even 5 years, and that's fine. Because if a society learned how to deal with difficulties, then the regulation did its purpose, and we can, remove it, and we can laugh about it. And this is good if we can laugh about regulation and laws.
Just a quick addition to it. If I wear my practitioner lens to it, the answer is yes, but is it when? So I think that's the question you are asking, right? So is it now or is it 10 years from now, right? So I think the answer would be is that today we are still in the crawl phase of agentic maturity in production environments. So there's basic steps like observability and assurance and controls and the continuous posture management. All of these stuffs are still concepts it's still in theoretical phase. So I think it'll take a couple of years for a lot of that to get mature. But having said that, there are still military grade and mission critical applications that need to be tamper resistant from grounds up, from bare metal all the way to the up. So those will still be what I call as the esoteric use cases that'll be the first adopters. But to percolate it down to the late majority and then to the monoculture deployments, which is going to take a long time.
Thanks.
Am I audible now? Okay, thank you very much. My name is Dr. Agarwal. By profession, I am a scientist, working for last 50 years or so in the area of natural language processing. And also, is it okay now? So, experience of working in natural language processing for last 50 years or so. And I'm very much interested in using, and I have used AI for NLP purpose and things like that. But this topic is a very general topic which we are discussing today about ethical issues and things like that, and making it viable for applications in different areas. Well, the point which I am going to ask is, you are talking about optimization. And our optimization and making the model which you can utilize for that particular application or purpose. Now, I understand these are all data-driven things. The data that you have got today available for that particular application, how reliable it is, and it is a changing phenomenon. Today, whatever database we have got for making that model and optimizing that model is changing tomorrow. So, in order to make applications of that particular model, because we have faced this problem, today if we apply one model, it may not be very much applicable because people say that your data is not sufficient. And you have to change the data, you have to augment it further with the database and things like that. And then tomorrow it will again change. So I just wanted to get your general opinion about, how to solve these problems. Thank you very much.
Yeah, actually, that's a good question, and I'm actually right in the middle of what you're saying. I think if you look at like software, how software has evolved, that's the SDLC cycle, like the software development life cycle. The whole models need to mimic how the software has been developed, both in pre and post. So each of the assurance and controls need to be not just validated pre-deploy, but post-deploy as well. So what does it mean? It means that if the models have been trained in pre and have met the satisfactory requirements, doesn't guarantee that once they're in post-deployments, there's a drift happening. So there's a whole layer of products in the LLM ops. It's called LLM ops. LLM ops is essentially, it looks at your observability stack, looks at your drift, concept drift, model drift, data drift, agent drift. So all the drifts need to be tracked in real time. And then you've got to do root cause analysis to figure out who, what, when, where, and why, right? Is it because of pollution in the data, or is it model poisoning, or is it a prompt injection attack? any combinations can happen that could cause that variation or the variance. So you want to do this continuous, similar to my talk on continuous threat exposure, you need to do continuous model drift management as well. And that's what, and that's it, that needs to be continuous as well.
I agree.
Anyone else?
Hello. Hello. Hi. My name is Atre. I'm an engineer on DevOps. Am I audible now? Sorry. Okay. So with so much data around right now, what practical methods can engineers actually use or implement or start with to verify that AI's decisions are reliable, not just assume its output confidence? Like safety is not just assumed, but it's verified. So as you said, different layers, like we can focus on different layers from end to end, but how can we, as engineers, like try to, start with, to create such a system with so much data around already? That's not actually safe.
I can try to give an answer, even though I think this is a very, very good question, and it's state-of-the-art discussion how to do that. I can tell you some of the ideas, and some of the ideas to build this kind of trusted systems is that you enrich the data that you use for training with some additional metadata that gives some kind of certification or guarantees for the data and the data source. So imagine that you have basically one statement that the colors of AI Impact Summit are blue and yellow, and maybe you have then the metadata that this information is coming directly from the organizers of the summit, and then you have some other information that basically says it's red and green. And where you don't have a certificate. So then you can train the model to distinguish between different data sources, maybe then also even give qualified statements like, the official information that I found is that it is this and this colors, but there's also other information around which questions this, but this is not certified information, so take that basically with a grain of salt, make sure that you basically really question that. And so in this way, on one side, the model can answer in a way like a human would answer and say, look, this is the trusted information that I have. This is why I believe that I can trust this information. And there's also maybe other information around which people maybe have different opinion or different information. And this I don't trust so much. And so you can basically build this kind of trust chains that you have also between humans and build this into systems a little bit. But how to do that exactly, this is still part of a discussion, and there's no easy answer to that at the moment. So if you have a good idea, please try it out and let us know if it works.
Yeah, I can add to that. This is a great topic for young engineers and developers like you. And the new trend that is happening is AI to test AI. And that's the new paradigm. Because I was talking to Anthropic CISO. 95% of Anthropic's code is AI generated. There is no way that humans can test the code that has been generated by AI. So what does it mean? AI needs to be smart enough to figure out from the code patterns, from the data patterns, to auto-create the test vectors, generate synthetic data to create the test environments, auto-create the infra environments to test the code, all done agentically. So that is the new paradigm, is combinations of synthetic data, combinations of code analysis, combinations of your environment, combinations of business logic, all embedded as inputs into the AI to create the test vectors to test the code that you have generated. So that's the new future for the next 10 years. And it's a great topic for young minds like you to start focusing on these problems, because we are still in the crawl phase. Yeah.
But how do we build trust in those systems?
So that's, so I'm decoupling the testing from the runtime posture. So I think her question was more on the testing side, which is because the volume of code that is being generated is now 1000x. There's no way humanly you can test it. So you need AI to automate the test process. Then comes the runtime verification process, which is a whole different, different equation altogether. Yeah.
Anyone else? Okay. Final comments. Daniel, what is your view of being at this India AI Summit? Final comments to our audience.
No, thanks a lot. I think basically the summit really offers an opportunity for international exchange, for really discussing what we need to trust AI and where maybe we should not trust AI. Because I think for the next years, there should be some parts where we don't trust AI, where we maybe use it in a way that it can give us some information or not, but where we keep asking, can we really trust it? I think that's very important. And my last thought is, I think, asking for a big round of applause for Sanjay to moderate, even though with the voice it was difficult, but you managed perfectly. Thank you for that.
So the question was the final comments. No, I think India is in a great, for the India AI Summit is a great platform for young minds and for more seasoned operators from all over the world, whether it's policymakers or practitioners or operators or technologists, to come over in this new marketplace with a free exchange of minds. It's actually a great time because I keep saying that India jumped from 2G to 5G and skipped the 3G, 4G revolution. This is similar platform where India could quickly quantum jump into the new native AI world and leverage from a lot of the maturity in the stacks, maturity in the architectures, maturity in the processes. So timing couldn't be more perfect, but it's all about execution, execution, execution. So that would be my parting thought.
Well, a big round of applause for our panelists. Thank you.
Thanks, Sanjay. Thanks for the beautiful panel, and it was very informative. Please hold on. Now we will be having a session where you will be having the direct, so we have discussed the different possibilities. We have discussed about what are the challenges AI can have and how exactly to build the trust. Now we are not going to talk, rather we are going to show you the demo of Agentic AI, using Agentic AI, how exactly the cyber security can be taken care. So one end, when there is a possibility that there could be attack, at the same time, we can also have the option of protecting our network, of protecting the AI using the Agentic AI. So I would like to introduce Mr. Srinivas. So Srinivas, basically like a research enthusiast, and he was kind of in the founding team of VMware, Redshift, and last it was IBM Cloud. He was the CTO. So now Srinivas is having the company by name Maya AI, which is probably it's the first company in the world to have this Agentic AI based security system. So I introduced to Srinivas Mantripragada for a talk on the expert talk on the Agentic AI based continuous threat monitoring. Srinivas.
Can you switch the... Good afternoon, everybody, again. Can I get a quick row of hand? How many of you are practitioners, security, AI, infra practitioners? Raise of hands. Okay, good. And how many are like AI users, just want to learning? So a lot of, so that's a good. And how many are more at the C level? CIOs, CISOs, CTOs? Okay, so we have a good mix. Okay, good. So what I'll talk about is, as we all are fully aware, AI is accelerating innovation globally, right? But as a result, it's also accelerating cyber threats. So what does it mean? It means that nations and enterprises need to up-level their kimono to stay ahead of the curve. And as a result of digital growth, it also comes with the complexity. The attack surfaces also improves or increases, right? So pick any vertical, AI, fintech, healthcare, manufacturing. The attack surface is just growing much, much faster than the right level of protection that needs to be enforced. And what does it mean? It means that the threat velocity is outpacing the operational capacity. If you just look at just the vulnerability curves, right from 2018 all the way to 2026, it has been tripling every year. This is even before the advent of AI-generated code. Now with upwards of 80 to 85 to 90% of code being generated by AI, the general expectation is that the vulnerabilities are just going to skyrocket. For the next few years, it's going to be a bumpy ride till the models get mature and they learn, and then we'll start to see stabilize. So once a vulnerability is out in the wild, hackers are able to reverse engineer and generate exploits in a matter of minutes. So enterprises and national agencies need to be extremely, extremely, extremely careful and very savvy about how can I protect my asset surface in a matter of minutes. And that's not an easy problem, right? Because the surface area is very big. So you need investment in native AI tools that can constantly give you that vigilance. And that's what we call about continuous threat exposure management. Anytime there's a new threat or a new vulnerability, how does it quickly translate to my enterprise? Am I affected? Am I impacted? If I am, what part of my assets are impacted? If yes, can you quickly isolate it to the sections that are the most impacted ones? Can you prove me evidence? Can you show me enough evidence that this is a high priority, right? And then if yes, then what is the right level of recommendations that I need to do to safeguard and quarantine or whatever segment at the right in the matter of minutes. If you look at from the 50,000 that was in 2025 and expected to be even double, triple as the year progresses, only 5% are actually weaponized. What does that mean? It means that actually less than 5% are the ones that are translatable into threats. Means the hackers are able to reverse engineer and create exploits, and these exploits are then sold in the black networks and hawker networks, and you pay $1 million, you get exploits, and then you bring the Citibank server down or something like that, right? So this is a deep franchise that is operating behind our four walls. And when the Claude Opus 4.6, when it released a week back, it found 500 high severity vulnerabilities. All it did was just scan the GitHub source code repositories, boom, it found 500 severity 1 vulnerabilities. So that is very alarming because a lot of this open source code is running in your mission control systems, whether it is drones or embedded systems or controllers or servers. So it is very alarming that as enterprises need to take care of that. And now the defender's dilemma is that it's too much noise now. I got too many alerts, too many noises. How do I quickly triangulate to that less than 5% that are known to show exploits or known to show or known to become threats, right? And attackers are weaponizing these vulnerabilities even before patches land. So anytime there is an open disclosure of some vulnerability, the hackers are using the same AI to reverse engineer and construct exploits, right? So the TTE, which is the time to exploit, what used to be 63 days back in the 2009, 2008 is now come down to really -1 day, right? So it's kind of it's scary. It's and this is all nation state and ransomware groups are operating as enterprises. You pay them money, they create exploits for you. And then what's the target entity you want? You want some entity or some nation critical asset? Boom, you can attack it there right away, right? So this is a new world that we have to embrace. And the question is that how do you do it? right? So if you look at it from the flow chart, right? So without getting to the too technical details, roughly it takes about 8 days for one incident to go through the first 3 steps. Basically, you do the first level vulnerability assessment, then you do the impact assessment, then you do the forensic analysis, basic forensic analysis. So the first 3 steps, even before you do deeper forensic investigations, like memory snapshots and evidence collections, all of that, that takes longer time. It takes anywhere between 8 days to 21 days for each incident. Now you times that with 60,000 or 70,000, so that many man hours are being spent. That could really be agent automated and fast optimized, right? So, not to mention the tools and the talent fragmentation as well. Every enterprise roughly has about 50 plus tools. You know, it goes into 100 plus cybersecurity products. So it's very complex. So it's a very complex environment. So among this noise, how do I quickly distill to the less than 5% that is most meaningful to me and my enterprise? All largely, if I can do it in an autonomous way, then I can save a lot of human cycles in that process, right? So I think that's what we are, and I'll skip all this stuff. And Gartner is saying that organizations and enterprises that prioritize their security investments based on this continuous threat exposure management, they are likely, have 3 times less likely to suffer a breach. So this is strong statement made by Gartner and other leading analysts that as an enterprise or as an entity or as a critical asset provider, I need to invest in this kind of programs so that I can stay ahead of the curve rather than then fall behind, right? And I'll just skip all these high-profile attacks. These are all the attacks that have happened in the past 12 months and, the kinds of patterns that the hackers have used. And it just shows, that they are widespread. They will look for the weakest link. All they need is one weak link. But as defenders, we need to protect everything. But as hackers, I just need one weak link to perimeter, right? So what does it mean? It means that the defense must move at machine speed now, not at human speed. Machine speed. You need to do continuous exposure analysis, automated investigations, AI-driven prioritizations, faster remediation, and humans become the decision makers. So humans should not spend time on data gathering, data scrubbing, data, all that stuff. Let the agents do a lot of that work. Humans should figure out where their best value for their mind is being used, right? So the new operating model essentially translates to continuously analyzing exposures, automating the investigations, even predicting exploitability, can even predict new threats before they happen, right? So leveraging the power of some of the new technologies to figure out that I need to even be aware of some of the new emerging scenarios that I was not aware of before, right? So all of this translates to what we call as introducing my AI, right? So if you look at how the evolution of the technologies have happened, the legacies, the first generation were all scanner-based. You scan once a week or once a day, and it'll detect a lot of things. But it has no idea of your infrastructure, your enterprise, your footprint. So it'll detect everything, but prioritize nothing. Then the Gen 2 have come, which are more risk-based, but the risk is, it gives you a little bit better context, but it's still human-driven execution. And that will fail because the volume of vulnerabilities and threats are now skyrocketing. So you need a fundamental native AI-driven and autonomous largely, and evidence-based, of course, evidence and explainability-based, where every action is backed by evidence, right? So that is what matters to you and your enterprise or your assets, and prioritize that largely without humans spending bulk of the work. So I'll skip all of this stuff. So at the end of the result, what it means, you need rapid risk elimination, automated impact assessments, and auto-reduce your backlog, right? So that's what we want to see. We want to live in this world where it is evidence-based prioritization, it's proactive threat detections, sometimes autonomous, maybe even one-click remediate options, and your backlog reduced by 30%, if not more. Wouldn't that be a great day, right? So that is the future that we are all marching towards. And how we do that is essentially, what we have built in the last 2 years is what we call as AI teammates. If you think of it as each agent that's purposely built with a model, each agent, like ants, they work and collaborate with each other using swarm computing. Essentially, they share their intelligence and they leverage the intelligence that we extract using in cyber mesh. And in the cyber mesh, we are able to guiding and in real time that how the agents are communicating like a 4 into 100 meter relay. They're passing their intelligence to the next agent, the next agent to the next agent. So each agent is becoming smarter and smarter and smarter. And as a result, you're getting instant vulnerability assessments, impact assessments, do your instant exposure analysis, do your exploitability scenarios and things like that, right? So what as a practitioner, what does it mean to me? It means that on a day-to-day basis, if I start with, let's say, 250 on a daily basis, 250 open incidents or open, vulnerabilities, if I can quickly figure out to the 20 that are most meaningful and dangerous to my environment with explainability and evidence-based decision making, then I become more productive, right? And I save a lot of man hours. I'm using the rest of the time to do other meaningful tasks, and I'm saving a lot of my time in doing drudgery work that otherwise could be automated, right? So that's kind of where we are. In closing, AI-enabled defense, explainable government AI systems, and public-private collaborations, and we invest in national research. So we are working with Ruman. This is our strong partnership with our local partner here in Bangalore and India. Ruman will provide all the local implementation and integration services. They provide the skilled cybersecurity and cloud workforce. They've been around for more than 25 years, experts in their domain. And so they will work with guys like you to provide a more hands-on practitioner deployment experience. So let's quickly move to the demo, if I can. Let's see how far that goes. Oh, thought I had my demo somewhere. Hold on, let me just take this out. So what you would see is a product here. This is our dashboard. So what will come up is something like this, where you would start with, what's your open vulnerabilities in your backlog, how many of them got prioritized, how much of your backlog was reduced, what recommendations were got executed, and how much time did it take for each execution, right? So your funnel would look something like this, where, how does it funnel look from how many of them were in production environment? So from the open incidents, which one are impacting your workloads that are running in production environment? How many of them their patches are available? How many of them are actually reachable, meaning there is from that vulnerable node, you have a path to the internet or path to a critical asset or path to some other payment gateway system that's of high risk. So we do the detailed path analysis using our cyber mesh. And from there, what comes out is the explainability, right? So you can double click on each one now. So we would click on this. You can see each of the agents. So you have the vulnerability detection agent, and it will tell you, it found, for this specific CVE. So this is let's think of this as an incident that impacts one of the vulnerabilities. So it'll tell you here, that has impacted OpenSSH library, it version 6.5v1, 4.4, and so on, okay? So that's the first level triage. So this specific CVE, it affects these software components. But then you can ask, so what? How does it impact me? So then comes the impact assessment agent. So the impact assessment agent will then find that there is an instance, an Apache web server instance that is running in your production environment, running on this subnet and in this VPC that is impacted by this version of the library that is running. Okay, now you're making sense, but tell me more, right? So give me evidence, give more evidence. So then what we do is we look at your logs. We look at your network logs, we look at your host logs, and from there we are able to find that there is actually a malicious hacker activity happening that is an exploitation of that vulnerability. How do we do that? We do that because we built this cyber mesh, which I'll show you. From the cyber mesh, we're able to connect the dots. So we're able to show the dependency from that library to that instance, to that VPC, to that subnet, and then from there, how the hackers are moving through the path to other parts of your network that you need to be aware of, right? So that's how we are showing you evidence. And similarly, we are doing evidence-based both at the network layer. We are also doing evidence at the host layer. So we're combining multiple evidences across different layers of your stack to show that there is enough evidence that this exploitation is happening in your back, so you need to give it a high priority. So what is the recommendation plan? The recommendation plan is, we found these 2 IP addresses. These IP addresses are blacklist IP addresses, so you need to create your firewall policies to block them, and then you need to patch your version of that instance running on that, right? So all of this autonomous, all agentic, and what you will see is something like this is the cyber mesh that we built, which is this is the deep cyber mesh. It's pretty complex. We use LLMs to hide the complexities between the different data sets. So we use the vulnerability taxonomies, we use the configuration, telemetry, identity, assets, all of this information, they become raw nodes in your mesh. So this is at the bare bone genetic layer. And then from there, let's say if this was a vulnerable node, then we do path analysis from there, and we figure out that, there is a path from this infected node to the internet, or from this infected node to the payment gateway system, or this infected node to other parts of your infrastructure that are highly protected assets. So that level of visibility is fundamentally unique in the industry. No one has done this before. And you can also interactively ask. We provide that both in an interactive investigation, so you can ask prompts like which systems are affected by this. You can do an interactive investigations, or you can also run this in autonomous mode that you can provide, as you see here. So that's kind of like concludes the product. So this product is essentially, it's called Agentic Continuous Threat Exposure and Exploitability Management. All agentic, all AI native, and largely autonomous. So that concludes my talk. Thank you. Any questions? Yes.
Thank you so much. Hello, am I audible now? Hello, am I audible?
Yeah.
Thank you for the lovely session. Myself, Poonam Sharma. I am also a cybersecurity analyst. In the last way, when you say we got the IP address, any way we can block that IP address from our own system with this dashboard?
Yeah, so that's exactly what I show here, right? So once we were using our cyber mesh, we were able to figure out that, that specific vulnerability, there was an exploitation happening, and from the exploitation, we were able to figure out that these were the IP addresses, like these IP addresses. They were the IP addresses to a blacklist location that I don't want to name the country. So then what happens is that agent can then translate that into a policy, and depending on whether it is a Checkpoint or a Juniper or a Wiz or a Palo Alto Networks, it will translate that into the right level of policy and push it down. Yeah.
Am I audible? This is Ratnavel from Punjab National Bank. I had one small thing, like at the last you had given like we can interact with the agent. So what kind of interaction I can make, and how it can be taken up to the next step, and what kind of result it will give. So I'm more interested on that part.
Let me see if I can run one. It will take time because it's on AWS hosted. So let's see this. So for example, here, you can run this, which systems are affected by, let's say, this CVE. When you click on it, then it runs in a Copilot mode. That agent is running on the background. It is doing all this complex analysis, and it'll map to your assets, your infrastructure, and what comes out is a similar result that it will take some time, but hopefully, there you go. So you will see that result, which is here, that this is an OpenSSH vulnerability, 8.5E1, blah, 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 right? Then you can run, can I do an impact assessment on this, and it'll show you more details. The same details that I showed you in the autonomous, you can now run it in an interactive mode as well. So these agents are designed based on your risk level and your sliders. It can run in Copilot mode or it can run in autonomous mode. Yeah, of course, there.
Good morning, sir. Sir, actually, first of all, I would like to make sure that I am not from somebody from a very much profound IT sector. But my question is very little. That it's not a very complicated question. But the only question is that how does Maya AI will make sure and ensure that the thin line between the human touch authenticity and the deep fake which are being used these days, and the deep fake emails and the deep fake mails. How would Maya ensures the authenticity?
He's asking about how the human touch will differentiate Maya AI and how the deep fake differentiation will be identified with the help of Maya AI.
Yeah, so we are not in, so there are two aspects. There is AI for security, there is security for AI. We are not on the security for AI. We are not on the data path looking for deepfake detection. Those are different classes of products. We are AI for security operations. Once a deepfake has been detected or once a threat has been detected, can you do a lot more deeper forensics to see what parts of my infra, is it only restricted to deepfake or is something else happening like data leakage or data poisoning or whatever it is, right? So that level of investigation, prioritization, and evidence gathering is what we do. So we need both. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Huh? Yeah. Thank you guys. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Srinivas.
Yeah.
Can you just type startupvarsity.com?
You can close this.
On the internet.
Oh, you want that?
On the So I thank Mr. Sanjay Puri for Knowledge Networks for the very much informative session on AI trust. I also thank Srinivas for Maya AI presentation. So just I will take one more minute where I want to take this opportunity in this particular hall or the people who all are watching us on YouTube. So we have come up with, as Ruman, we have come up with the option that is, if you are having an idea, we can create a venture for you, and you can visit the website startupvarsity.com. So where we allow, like, so Startup Varsity, where we talk about, like, if you have an idea, we build the enterprise for you. If you don't have the idea, we seed the idea in you. So basically, it's kind of a pre-incubator where we want to give you the idea how exactly you can start, go for a startup, and what helps we can provide you. So here we are talking about, we have already done that for 100 of the startups we have built, and they have totally 2,500 people employed now. But now we have done a little twist. So what exactly we do here, so we build the team. So it's not like a typical incubator where only the founder comes with a kind of like, idea and they are sitting and doing, trying the activities. So here what we do is, we will give you the finance support. We give the seed fund up to 10 lakhs to start with. We help the people to create up to MVP. And then we are also helping. So we are not only giving you the money, we give you the team also. So because Ruman is a training company, so we have enough of people who all are there with us. So we give you the complete team. How exactly it starts is, like, first we find a founder who is having passion to do the business. Might be you are already working, you want to come out of your job and you want to start a startup, or else you are a very passionate college graduate. Anyone can be a founder, and we validate the idea with the industry expert. Once the idea is validated by the industry expert and says, yeah, this is a good idea, we can go to the market. On the day one itself, we form the company. We give them a seed fund of 10 lakhs, and then we find a co-founder for them. After getting the co-founder, we give a team of 10 people, which will be having the engineer plus the marketing as well as the sales guys. So we take the fresh guys from the MBA colleges, we take the fresh guys from the engineering, to whom parallelly we have also given the training, and they are ready to go. And today in this agentic AI world, it doesn't take much of the time for us to train them. So using that, they can develop the product. So in 4 months, we assure that the product is ready, and with that, we get into the market. Another one thing which you may not find in any other incubator, that is, we have come out with a concept we are calling it as Ma. So obviously, as this is a startup, it's kind of a kid, and kid always needs Ma for the further growth. So Ma is Market Access Alliance. So what we have done is, we have come out with 100 of the companies who all are having, basically what you see that startup, they fail because they can only go to B2C. B2B and B2G, they don't have the credibility. They will be asking that, like, how much experience you have, what is the kind of turnover of the company. So what we have done, we have created a Ma network of 100 of the companies, and they help you in going, oh, sorry, I'm not visible. Yeah, so they will help you, the Ma companies will help you, they lend their credibility, and you can get the businesses from them. So that's what is Startup Varsity. Probably I would request you to go through the website. Most of the details are there, and you can get in touch with us anytime if you have any query as such. So maybe if 1 or 2 questions I can take, and then we will bind up the session. Any questions? Yeah.
Hello. Hello.
Yeah, you are audible.
Hi, my name is Mahfouz Ahmed Siddiqui.
No, little louder.
Hello.
Yeah.
Yeah, my name is Mahfouz Ahmed Siddiqui. Basically, we are into the cybersecurity, the authorized learning partner of Cisco and many others, but we are based in Dubai, UAE. Now we have recently registered ourselves in India with a different name because of the compliances. So are we also eligible for applying for
Definitely.
services, as you told you?
Definitely. You can be. So you can be you can be here. So what happens, like, we are giving you the infrastructure, we are giving you the team, we are giving you the mentor. So all this can be given to you.
Okay. Then I will be contacting to the team.
Get in touch. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? All right. So thanks a lot. Thanks to all of you for being a very patient and good audience. And you can reach to us on ruman.com or startupvarsity.com. Thank you.